Everybody, this is another episode of Phil John's VIP. I'm starting this over again because lately, Instagram Live has not been my friend. It's been friggin' messing up all the time. Now we're gonna do this one more time. Now, Jarret, you either gonna come on as Jarret Seltzer or we doing Bagels by Jarrett. You tell me which one, and I got you. Okay, I see you back on. I'm introducing my brother Jarret Seltzer. This is a guy that I've worked with for a few years now. He's a producer, director, business owner, entrepreneur, a musician, you name it, this guy does it. And I'm happy that I've known him now for probably about maybe 12 years. Since I've had an opportunity. We've been working together off and on. He's an amazing person. He's now married with a beautiful wife and a wonderful little baby girl. And now to everybody, let me introduce to you the man behind my madness, Mr. Jarret Seltzer. Here we go. This time, fire straight. Oh, disclaimer, rated R. If you got weak ears, this isn't the conversation for you. So,
all right, I'm here. That was
Okay.
actually my fault. Don't blame Instagram. You could see the chat window is so distracting, so I was trying to get rid of it, and I can't. So I've got this little piece of paper that I'm just going to put right there.
Just look at me.
I'm looking right at you. How are you, sir?
I am good. How are you? I was saying that you look prosperous.
I look exhausted,
I
appreciate that.
You look prosperous.
You look the same. We've known each other how many years? You say 12, 13 years?
12, 13 years, yeah.
What's it like not to age? Is it a wonderful thing?
I'm aging, man.
You look the same, dude.
I
casted you like you looked like this.
Okay, really quick, and this is behind the true story. Each Hollywood story. Jarret cast me in a Intel series, and by that time I was about 36, and they cast me as a 27-year-old. And I think we went 13 episodes in before I even realized that I was like 36. I think I had a birthday, so by the time it was over, I was like 38.
Right? Sounds about right. Yeah, and
right.
I was early 30s or so, I would say.
Yeah, man. So I had to keep that on the low because Jarret likes to fire people.
I didn't fire people.
I had to be on my best behavior. I didn't want anything to interrupt this job.
No, we met. You were casted. You were not what we told. So it was that we were doing work for Intel at the time, and we were making training content for people who don't know. And the guy I was working with was Brilliance, and he was like, "We're gonna make training content that's entertaining." And I'm like, "Well, that makes sense."
Yeah.
And we created a sitcom for training content. Like we literally made a sitcom, and it was awesome. Like it was truly enjoyable. It was really cool what we did. The guy had a brilliant mind, is what he was doing. And Phil, you were supposed to be a white 25-year-old male who was a manager of a computer store. And you walk into casting, and I say, "We have this all wrong. This is the guy who's supposed to be the manager of that store."
All I remember is saying, like, "Give me the eyes. Give me the eyes. Keep the eyes. I love the eyes. Don't get rid of the eyes."
No, you had it. It was fascinating. I remember too, like I called over to the guy who owned the company that I was technically working for, and I'm like, JP was your character's name. Yeah. And I'm like, "I found JP, and he's not what you think he is." Because there was a whole PowerPoint document of who the characters were, and I assure you, you were not JP. And I was like, "No, we had JP all wrong." Right. And we did. And you were amazing. You were the amazing piece of that project. Thank you. It was such a cool piece looking back. Like during it was hell. I would get scripts the night before. It had props I didn't have. I'd wake up just vomiting because my anxiety was so insane. But like it was a really cool project. It just was managed so fucking poorly that it killed me. I definitely, like, I apologize to my wife and daughter. Neither of them, I mean, Allie existed during the show, but we didn't know each other. But like, I definitely took a couple of years of my life off doing that show.
it got pretty intense. And shout out to Brett Goldstein, man. She was the one that called me in and kind of like put that whole cast together.
Yeah, no, it was amazing, and it was an amazing project. Like it was so cool, and we did such a cool job with it, and it was so ahead of its time, and still no one's done anything like that.
Yeah,
And it was
absolutely.
truly a special project.
And just
To,
and so that everybody will know, because I want to say this publicly, but a lot of times when I'm working with different people, they don't understand. Sometimes I can come off like an asshole, and I don't mean to, but Jarret Seltzer created that because, and I'm gonna say because I was so used to things being run a certain way for those 2 to 3 years that we were doing it. I was so used to things to work so that when I went to work on other sets and it wasn't ran that way, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what do you
yeah,
mean you
well,
don't know?
and so for me, I was like, I came from commercial world before I went into that. So
Yeah,
I was working on a commercial, like a 2-day commercial that was $2 million of budget. And here I
yeah,
was making training content, but I'm like, yo, we're treating those people like that $2 million commercial
yeah,
because all you had to do was be like, F you, Jarret. Like, it seemed like we had the power, right? We were the producer, director, the production
yeah,
company, etc. But if you just said, yo, Jarret, I want double the money,
yeah,
you probably could have gotten it at the end of the day. Like I never
yeah.
thought about it that way till this
No,
entire
no, no, no,
conversation.
no, no.
But
Let me tell you, I have
anyone
to
could have
disagree.
abused us
I have
because
to disagree because there was a time, and I'm not dropping any names, but there was a time when we had late issues on the set, right? And this one particular time, I think my agent called you because we ran overtime. I'm sitting in the coffee shop. I don't know what the hell he told you.
what coffee shop?
I was sitting, no, I was sitting in the coffee shop when I got the call from you. And you were like, well, Phil John, you know, I really like you. And I'd really hate to lose you. And I'm sitting there like on the phone, like, what? What are you talking about? You hate to what? And I called my agent, like, what happened? What's going on? And you were like, I'm like, yo, I felt like I just was threatened because I was late once. I'm not the late one. There's people that's late all the time. One time.
Don't be late.
I was the sacrificial lamb. That's how I felt. That's how I felt.
All I'll say is we had an amazing time. I mean, this for people who don't understand what we're talking about, who are just joining in,
Yeah.
we literally so Phil John and I met. I was doing video production. I picked up a very big client. He was doing training content. We created a sitcom for Intel to train people who worked at places like Best Buy about how to sell Intel products. But we made a sitcom about it to make it interesting, and it worked. It was phenomenal. It was.
Yeah.
I still think it's one of the guy who I worked for. I still think it's one of the best things he ever did that we did.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. It was so well done. Intel gave us the budget for it. We did it really, really well. And we all became friends during it, as you can see, because we're here now 10 years later having a conversation about it. It was a really, really cool project.
And it was a great training ground for me because, you know, there was when we did the special for the Dark Knight.
Yes.
And we had to shoot an episode for Intel. Then we had to shoot all the promo stuff for the Dark Knight.
Do you realize
we didn't shoot that in sequence at all. So it was really training for me to go day by day, go to work, do what's on the page, and then watch it all come together at the end.
Yeah,
it's not my
we shot. So it's really random that you brought this up because I thought about this last week, which is really odd. We shot that for 4 days. And even down to the equipment that had to be used for that shoot, I mapped it out to save the budget that we were going to do this. We're going to be set up here so we could shoot this scene. And I remember coming up to the dressing room, which was, we rented a house, for those who don't know. We rented a house, and we turned that house into a set. The downstairs was a set. The upstairs was all like makeup, hair, wardrobe, etc. And then the basement, we actually turned into a full set that was a fake computer store that we built for these guys to act in. And I remember when we were doing that shoot, I'm like, you guys have to read the script and like get it, because we're not shooting this in any order that makes any sense over the next 4 days. We're shooting it in the order that makes sense to get this done in 4 days. And that was actually, so this special, people who worked for Intel or Best Buy, I believe, got to go to the theater the night of the Dark Knight came out. Now, if you recall, that was when the shooting in Colorado happened.
Yeah. Yeah,
I went out
yeah,
to a theater in New Jersey to watch our work, and I was like, oh my God. And then there was this kid from Australia who was working with us who traveled over. And I remember the sound wasn't loud enough in the theater. I'm like, why isn't the sound loud enough? And he like ran up to go get them. But I woke up in the morning and saw that there was the shooting that happened in Colorado. And
yeah,
that was from The Dark Knight. But luckily for us, we were only in like 100 theaters doing this special thing, and
yeah,
no one
yeah.
that was with us was affected by it. But I actually thought about it the other day, and that's a pretty crazy thing. And I remember I was like, we get to actually see our work on the big screen, like
Yeah,
on the big screen. It was cool.
yeah. And that was my first time in spandex.
Yeah, we did. We did. You did. I blame Rocco for that. I don't know if he's watching, but Rocco definitely helped pick out the wardrobes for that. But you wore spandex like a champ, dude. Like, I still don't take my shirt off in the pool. Like, I'm still, like, so
Yeah.
I give you credit for that. You did wear spandex, though.
I honestly think that they lived to give JP a montage so that all kind of shit could happen to me.
You started all of this. Your character built montages. We threw cereal in your face, water in your face. Like, you got abused.
You're completely abused. It was
Yeah,
like,
and then I was like, shot's good, and I'd walk outside and smoke a cigarette.
it was the best time. You know, I was going to get a drink too. I was like, I said, I'm sure Jarrett's going to be drinking tonight.
You don't
I
have a
was
drink?
going to get one. Huh?
You don't have a drink?
I don't have a drink. I was going to get one, but I thought I wanted us to maintain a level of like, well, at least me, kind of keep the conversation kind of.
Well, that's your job.
I'm drinking and you drinking. It gets crazy. So let's go back to you. I want to talk about you.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I've always discovered about you, and one thing I've always found fascinating about you, is that you tend to like, it's like you're a manifester. Like once it's in your brain and you speak it, all of a sudden things start to just happen. And at 15, what made you want to start your own business?
Well, I started the record label when I was that age, and I started because no one would sign my band, right? So it was a problem, right? I have a band. I want to put out records. I have no way to do that, so I have to do that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I may as well put out some other bands, because if I lose money on my band, at least maybe I can make some money on some other bands. But it really wasn't about money at that point. It was just like, I want to put out a record. And your record at that time, like you're going back to like 1999, not 98, 99. And it just like, you wanted to have a record label on the back of your CD. Like you wanted to have a compact disc in front of you and be like, yo, there's a record label on that. It was like, well, that could be us. And we were actually right. Like 20 years later, we were right. Like, we could own our own music.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not sell our own CD? Why pay someone for that CD when if I can go to the plant and get it printed for $1.50, and sell it for $10, why let someone else do that? Do they care as much as me? And this goes into like everything in my life, right?
Right.
Down to where we are now with the bagel shop. Like, no one will ever care about what I'm doing as much as me. I am so fortunate with the bagel shop that everyone, I mean, Nick Joyce, who you remember from set, who works with me in production, he's my right-hand man at the shop. And he is 100% like, he doesn't know how to make the steak tacos. Like, if push came to shove, there'd be no steak tacos on the menu, right, at my bagel shop. But if push came, like, he is 100% about what we're doing here. And there's a value in that you can't fake, you can't get from anything else. You have to, you need 100% from that stuff. So the record label's the same concept. No one's ever going to care as much about my band as I'm going to care.
So was that a concept? Is that just innate who you are, or was that something that was learned or passed down to you?
Well, no, it was, what I learned was no one's putting out my record, so I got to put it out. So I got to start a record label to put a record label seal on it, even though I have the ugliest record label logo on the back of the CD.
But the mind,
like, if there's no record label
what I'm saying is the mind for business, was that passed down to you?
My father was a businessman, so he sold life insurance, and I definitely think there's a piece of that. While other kids played with G.I. Joes, I was like, yo, Mom, can we go to Staples? I need a 3-slot hole punch and a stapler, and maybe some carbon copy paper on top, right? Like
right.
that was how I played. Like
Right.
we had DOS, we didn't even have Windows on our computer, but I was just like, I gotta act like a businessman.
Right. Right.
Right? I started Big Stamps Incorporated. We weren't really incorporated. Don't tell anyone. We were like 10 years old in my buddy's basement because he's a stamp collector. I'm like, well, let's start Big Stamps Incorporated. We didn't know what that meant. We threw a Christmas party one year. It was wonderful. But yeah, you just wanted like, yeah, I just wanted to do. I've always wanted to just get shit done.
Right.
I don't know how else to put it.
How did that lead into custom tour passes?
CustomTourPasses.com happened in a sense by accident, a beautiful accident, if you will. I was in a band. We weren't signed. We were doing small tours, and I wanted to get tour passes. So I'm looking for places to get tour passes at the time, and it's like 50 pass minimum. I'm like, we're like 12 guys. We don't need 50 of these. And they're like $5 a piece. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I'm Googling, or I think it was Yahoo at the time, tour passes. And nothing's coming up that's like, it's like memorabilia tour passes are coming up. So I'm like, custom tour passes. I'm like, it's not a bad website. And so I bought it. I had no idea how to do it. I built a website. I had never made a tour pass. And I was like, we're just going to open this tour pass company. And there I was and got my first order with no idea how to do it. Didn't even know what size the tour pass was, anything. And I actually reached out to Less Than Jake's tour manager at the time, like, yo, what size are your tour passes? Can you just send me the tour? And he was actually like super helpful. His name was Kyle at the time. And Kyle worked for Fueled by Ramen Records early on. They brought up bands like Paramore, Fall Out Boy, etc.
Yeah.
And Kyle sent me, he's like, yo, they're this size. It's called the memorial card, actually. Which I didn't even realize, like, later on in life, I'm like, oh, the same, like, tour pass that I print? Like, where do I have one?
Oh, like the small, like the ones you get from the funeral home.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the same size. It doesn't have the slot punch. You don't have that hole there for a lanyard when you get to the funeral home, but it's the same size. Us Jews don't do those cards, so I didn't know anything about it. But yeah, Kyle, who was managing Less Than Jake, was like, yo, dude, it's this size or whatever, and they were helpful. And then Less Than Jake actually ordered tour passes from me still to this date, like 10, 12, 15 years or so. But that's still, that company, it died during COVID. Like, I am so fortunate that I had the bagel shop open. I know it's so weird to say, but the fact that I opened the bagel shop, and I just realized too, I broadcasted this on my own and not the bagel shop's Instagram, which I was supposed to do. But hopefully people still find it. The fact that I opened the bagel shop when I did is amazing because video production was dead during COVID, and so were tour passes because no one was touring.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the bagel shop,
how brilliant is that? Yeah,
I would have been destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Destroyed while buying a new house and having a baby.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. I feel like I don't know which came first because everything kind of happened at the same time. It was like the marriage, the baby, and then the bagel shop.
It feels like it was all at the same time.
It was like all the same time, right?
Ish. I mean, the marriage happened. Then, where did it go? Marriage Alley would be better if I could get her there.
The bagel shop, because I you know, once the bagel shop opened, or when I saw that you were doing that, it just made sense because anybody who ever hung out with you would know like how great of a cook you are.
I love to cook.
So it's like, you know, it's like Jarret will turn you on to stuff that you never tried before, like pizza with ranch dressing on it.
I'm still pizza with ranch dressing. That hasn't gone away. No, I love cooking. I still do to this point. And someone's saying, you know, when I we're jumping ahead a little bit, but when I was like, I'm going to open the bagel shop, people were like, you're going to hate making bagels. I'm like, I already hate making bagels.
Right,
There's nothing fun about the bagel aspect of the bagel shop. Making the spread sucks. Making the bagel sucks. Like, there's nothing fun about it. But hearing someone go, that's the best bagel I ever had, or that's the best this or that I ever had, that's what excites me. So, like, today was all prep for us, and we had to bang out all this stuff that's not fun.
Yeah.
Making vegetable cream cheese is not fun. There's nothing fun about that. But when someone goes, that's the best bagel with vegetable cream cheese I ever had, you're like, okay, that's cool.
Good. Good.
Yeah,
Satisfied customer.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever come back to the entertainment business as far as production is concerned?
So there's definitely a piece of me that misses everything I've done in life that I've had a
Right.
fun time with, right? But I will say this is the first time I've ever felt like someone. So here's a very good, very quick. You made this post that we're doing this podcast tonight, and you called me one of the best directors you've ever worked with.
Yeah.
I don't even refer to myself as a director. I barely did.
Right.
Because it's hard to see yourself that way, right? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
when I wanted to be in a successful band and I would go see Less Than Jake, as we talked about earlier, I'd look up on stage and be like, yo, they got a bus, they're on tour, they're having the time of their life in there. Like this is like it's a Tuesday night and these guys are rocking out on the stage. I gotta go to school tomorrow, and they're on a tour bus going around the country playing shows. Like how cool is that? And I could never see myself when I was in a bus, and here I am in the United Kingdom playing shows on school nights with kids in front of me who have to go to school the next day. And I just get in the bus and I'm like, well, I hope we did all right. Right? Like you can't see yourself as that.
Yeah.
And as when I was directing and producing, etc., I never could see myself as that. It was just like, this is what I do to make money. Right? You'd be like, Seltzer, you're a fucking great director. And I'd be like, I'm organized. I'm like, I always said I was a good producer. I never thought I was a good director, but I would always say I'm a good producer because I could put these pieces together, like we said earlier about that 4-day shoot that had 10 videos about it. Like to get your mind wrapped around. I mean, I think it took me a week to set that all up properly, but I did. This is the first time in my life with the bagel shop where I'm like, yo, you're good at this. Like
because you see I guess you see it in your customers, and that's why I'm glad we had this opportunity to talk publicly, because I don't think that I've ever said it to you publicly, because I'll say it to other people, like I'll talk about you to other people, but I've never said it to you. And I think that one of the safest spaces that I've ever felt in the hands of you as a director, because I knew that you understood who I was as an actor, so I didn't have to try.
Correct.
You got it for me, so I trusted you. Literally, I would do a line. Okay, let me just run it back so everybody can know what I'm talking about. Jarret did, him and his partner Rocco did a pilot called 10-1, right? And I was a part of that pilot, and we were shooting in the bar at that time. That night, it was a night shoot. We shot in the bar.
That was the first day. I don't know where you're going, but that was the first day.
The extras around, right? That first day. There's all these extras around, and I remember I kept saying the line, and Jarret was like, "Okay, say it again. You got it. Don't worry about it." Here's where I know where it's. I did what I was supposed to do. We'll be doing the scene, and over in the corner, I'll hear. And I'm like, yes, I got it. Moving on. That's the martini shot right there. If he's laughing, then I know that it's funny. And I will always trust that. Like I've trusted that.
Yeah.
That you knew exactly. Sometimes you work on sets and you do stuff and you walk away and you're kind of like, I wonder how that look. And then when it airs, you kind of cringe because you're like, I don't know. All I know is that, I did something and they said move on. But there was always confirmation that you gave. If you like, or you'll say something like fucking genius, fucking hilarious. And you'll walk away, done, we're moving on. So it's like, I don't know. For me, it was like validation that I was doing my job.
No, it's fair. And I think we definitely obviously got each other, and I knew where to get you, and I knew when you weren't where you could be as an actor. And you probably knew where I could be as a director in certain days when I walked in, to be fair. But, that's really cool to know, to be like, that's awesome. Yeah. I got to watch that. I haven't watched that in a long time.
To the point where, like, even working, like we talked about earlier, like I'm working on like really like bigger sets. Mm-hmm. And I'm walking in and I'm just like, wait a minute, where do I go? Who are you? Like, I don't know. You could be the guy off the street. It's like, yo, can I check your wardrobe? you're not the woman I met 10 minutes ago. Like, and it's just like all over the place. So, you know, when you've been provided structure and a way of doing things, like you expect that everywhere you go, and that's not the case.
Yeah, and no, that's how I was as a director. Like it had to be perfect, but that's how it is at the shop too, and that's kind of how everything I do. You know, like they all meld together. I want things to be perfect, and like I'm cool and I'm fun to be around, but when things aren't perfect, when they should be, I'm not fun to be around.
No.
And as you know from set,
I know about late scripts. I've seen
we would get scripts the night before a shoot, and here I was being like, okay, it's a great script, but there's 3 extra actors in that I don't have, and 7 props that were not talked about. And here I am on Facebook at like 10 p.m. when I got a 4 a.m. call being like, oh, does anyone have the Harry Potter book that needs to be in this? Or like, am I making a fake cover for this book? There's a spinning wheel. I don't know anything about Harry Potter. Harry Potter was brought up so much on that shoot. And I've never read a book about Harry Potter, never saw a film about Harry Potter. I know nothing about Harry Potter. And at 11 p.m., I'd be like, oh, 7 Harry Potter references that I'm to direct. Wonderful. This is going to be great.
What do you think the best, give me the best and the worst part of working with professional actors that you've experienced?
The best and the worst of working with, well, here's what I'll say. I mean, I actually think I can answer that pretty easily. The best thing about working with professional actors, and so I will always go to, what's her name? Now I'm drawing the blank. She was in that movie. You know, you've seen that. So anytime I worked with a famous actor or actress, the biggest thing I learned about them is they had nothing to prove. So they were amazing to deal with. Phenomenal. Why can't I remember her name? I'd grab my phone, but I'm using that for this. What was the movie? Unfaithful. What's her name? The movie Unfaithful. She's cheating on her husband in the movie with the Italian guy. Her husband was in Air Force One. What the fuck is her name?
You're like, when you the face is there, but the name is just going.
What is her name? Someone who's reading this, watch it.
I don't know.
What was the woman in the movie Unfaithful? What is her name? Hold on, I'm in front of my computer. Now you're making me.
So what was it about her? Diane Lane.
Diane Lane. Thank you, Joanne Pospisil. So it was Diane Lane. So I was the second assistant director on the shoot with Diane Lane, and so my job is to deal with Diane Lane that entire day. Jarret works for Diane Lane,
right? And
so I get her when she shows up, and I was about to be like, "I loved you in Unfaithful," and then I realized what happens in Unfaithful. I'm like, "Let's not say that. This is not the way you should say the Diane Lane right now." And I remember I'm like in her dressing room, they're doing their hair or whatever, and she's like an hour out from shooting easily. I think it was like a makeup commercial, and my rule was I always stood on set. I refused to sit. I said, we sit at the end of the day. We don't sit ever on set.
Right.
And Diane Lane's like, can you sit, please? Like, we're going to be here for an hour. And I'm just standing at the door. I'm like, no, Miss Lane. I'm sorry. She's like, can you call me Diane? I'm like, no, Miss Lane. She's like, call me Diane. Okay. Sorry, Diane. No, I won't sit, Diane. And she's like, sit. It's like I'm a dog now at this point. And I refuse to sit. And then she's like, get off your paws and sit. I demand that you sit. And the story goes back to, so what I'm saying is that people, the famous actors and actresses had nothing to prove. Diane Lane knew who she was, and she was fine. So she never gave me an attitude.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that the higher people you deal with on set are the pains in the asses. No. I worked on the Wendy's shoot when I was like this big in production, and this girl is going off on me that she ordered a Caesar salad and didn't get it. She's like an extra. And so what I learned was I was like, and this doesn't really go to our set, but the famous people I worked with were amazing.
Yeah.
They were all wonderful people to deal with. The younger actors and actresses were the pains in the ass. You guys, I got to pick.
Yeah.
Right? I got to pick from casting. So I wasn't just looking at how you were as an actor. I was kind of like, can I get along with this guy for the next couple of years?
Right.
And I wasn't sure about you. And it took a while to break you.
Yeah.
How long did I try to be like, yo, Phil John, let's go get a drink? And you're like, nope,
Right.
I don't do that.
Nope.
I don't mix work with friendship.
Nope. That's true. Damn. I forgot about that. But
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, years. It had to take me 6 years till you had a drink with me. And I was a raging alcoholic, so I was ready to go. But you went.
And the funny thing is about no, listen, you don't really know your tolerance until you actually sat down and had a conversation with Jarret. Because like by the end of the night, you buy the whole bottle will be gone. And you would have talked your way through it. It's not like you would have talked by the end of the night, the bottle's on empty. And he's like,
like, we drank, I forget what we were drinking back then. It was an after dinner drink too.
Kettle One.
Kettle One back then, yes. But there was a red I'm getting sold. My memory just shot. So that happens when you're on the big shot.
Because I'm like, you know what it was? I always feel like, when I'm working on a job, I'm working. So I never want to put myself in a position where I'm.
No, you were right. I was wrong.
Oh.
I just wanted you to like me. I was like, I need this guy to like me. This was entirely about me. Entirely selfish.
The rap we had a great rap party though.
We did.
That was a good night.
Absolutely.
Definitely. There were fun times on the set of Off the Clock. Definitely.
It was an amazing experience that we had. It was on my end. It was absolutely horrible and anxiety ridden. But it was amazing. But it's funny because the people who watched it had no idea how many years we took off our lives doing what we did to get that done.
Yeah, man. But I mean, it's like when I got like a little peek of, or get a little wind of what actually all the stuff that you were going through, man, definitely felt empathetic.
It was insanity. Insanity what we were doing. It's crazy. No one would ever do that.
And you know what I noticed about like having a drink with you? When you're sitting down and you're talking to Jarret Seltzer and he's drinking, it's almost like there's a certain point where like this yogi shows up and his third eye just opens, and whatever truth will come out will just come out in that moment. And it's like, now what I'm about to say, I don't want anybody to think that this was taken personally at all. But I remember having a drink with Jarret. I'm twisted, right? So I'm numb. And he goes, well.
I think twisted means drunk.
He goes, twisted. I'm twisted means drunk.
Okay, I'm sorry. What? I don't speak twisted.
Yeah, like
I just call it drunk.
Okay. So we're both drunk. And he's like, look, we had to relight you. Right? What do you mean? We didn't, And I'm just like, what? I'm the only actor of color on the set. So this was like,
that's Phil John saying.
Thank you. I understand that now. But you understand, like, these moments happen in the middle of like we have talked about everything under the sun, but then that moment happens where he goes, that eye opens, and he just goes, he says stuff, and you're like,
it was true.
What?
I want to see him.
Then he goes. Then he'll go. Then I remember. Thomas Wesson, God bless him. He's on. If he probably watches on replay.
I hope so.
Thomas Wesson.
Everyone from that crew
was magnificent with teleprompter stuff. Right. I hated teleprompter. I hated teleprompter. But I was always great at montaging and improvising and all that stuff. Right.
And getting water thrown on you and cereal.
Drinking with Seltzer, he'll go. I'm like, man, I was really fucking horrible at teleprompter. I hated it. What do you think? He says, well, We all we all have to know our strengths.
So we would shoot the show
I'm
because I didn't
sorry.
want to bring everyone down.
Be more clear on this, but he was like, we all, and it was one of those moments where you're like you're too drunk to even respond, but you're like, wow.
We would shoot the show because we didn't want to ruin the vibe, and then we get the teleprompter, and I would debate on if I was going to use the best people first or the worst. Because like, how did I want to end my day?
Right.
I'd be like, there were 4 of us, or 4 actors that had to be on teleprompter. So I was like, should I get the pain out of the way? But and to be fair, I mean, this wasn't pharmaceuticals. If you ever shot pharmaceuticals, you know they're talking. Like, if you ever watched a commercial about the pharmaceutical, the shit they're saying, like, go try and say all of that without stuttering. It's impossible. This was the level right under it, because we're talking about Intel processors and cores and blah, blah, blah. So, like, it was horrible.
And we're talking about it like this is what we do. Like, we're knowledgeable of it. We know it. And at that time,
the third
generation, 5th generation, that was all just coming out. That was all new.
Yeah. The all-in-one was like the biggest thing back then. the touch screen. We were just touch screen.
Yeah, the touch screen. I just
No, it was a wild experience, but looking back again, like, it's the worst part for me was that every script was late and everything was due the next day.
Yeah.
Had it not been that way, it would have been a much better experience for me. But it was miserable doing that. And you remember me showing up and I'm just like, fucking just got the script. We gotta have this. We got this. I got this box that's got to be in it. They need some. There's a scene where there's a tape. Like, it just, like, the props. Yeah. The props alone, no one thought. I was like, yo, stop writing scripts that are like, we need this power cable.
Right.
Like, because I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And it was the morning of the shoot. I'm just waking up and I'm puking because I don't have these things that we need. And in the scene, he grabs a blue pen. It was unfair.
Yeah,
because my job was to set up the shoot
and black iced coffee.
Yeah. Oh God, iced black coffee and Parliament cigarettes back then. Like 3 packs of Parliament. But the crew, the crew, not the cast, but the crew loved it because they were all smokers. Right. And they were like, "Yo, we get him a carton today. He won't even know if he goes through it. We're just gonna keep taking cigarettes." Like Nick and Anthony, they would just they're going to set a shot up. I'm like, "How long? How much longer for this shot?" And they're like, 10 minutes. I'm like, "Fine." Like, that's 3 cigarettes. Right. I go outside, they'd be like, "You okay, man?" Like, next thing I know, there's 10 cigarettes around me.
And you know what? I have to say, there's a few people I know I'm connected to them on IG, some crew that I just absolutely loved and maintained relationships with after that. Rocco is one.
Absolutely.
Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Another, who are like really dope. Jacqueline will be joining me on the V.I.P later on in the couple for the year.
No, the whole crew was awesome for that job. Like, we had a solid crew. It was different, right? We did something that was very, very different. And I think that's why you got spoiled, if you will. That. Like, it was just different because I would look at it and I'm like, I know what this budget is. Like, yo, let's have some good lunch. Like, we always have to eat pizza. Like, there's some money here, so like, go drop $1,000 on some barbecue. Like, let's fucking go for it.
Yeah, man, and we did.
We did.
All right, so check this out. I got my 5 questions that I ask every guest that come onto the show.
Oh God,
that I ask you for. Okay, so just I'm trying get through with it. Get through with it.
I'm ready. I'm ready
as best you can. Okay, Jacqueline, I just gave you a shout out. Thanks for joining us, Jacqueline. I can't wait until you join me on the VIP. She just said, "What up?"
Remember when people call her Jackie on set? She fucking lose her fucking shit. Hey, Jackie, can you steam this? All right, well, you're never working with us again.
Right, exactly, right. What is this?
If you called Jacqueline Jackie, it was over.
All right.
But and I know she's watching now, but truly a huge asset to what we were doing there because she was down with everything. And like that set, sometimes we could leave at 4, but most likely we left at 8 or 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And the day, you never knew how the day was going. You never knew what you were going to be called to do.
Right.
And that was the coolest thing about that entire crew, down to Nikki Dollars, director of photography, whatever. If someone was just like, yo, let me move this monitor, which wasn't their job, they did it. Yeah. And that's why I was always like, and I'm not anti-union, but that's why I was so happy this wasn't a union shoot, because I remember working in union in New York City, and I'd be like, yo, I'm sorry, like, he's backed up. Can you just move this light? He's like, wrong union.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, dude. I'll move the goddamn light then. Like, because I was about teamwork, and I didn't know what the
shout out to my boy
meant.
Nikki Dollars. Nikki Dollars is doing this thing in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Nick
Dollars is besides, like, I talk way too fast. So for anyone who doesn't know, Nikki Dollars talks at speed 1. I talk at speed 10. We work together. It's difficult. But God, what I would do to have one more shoot with Dollars.
Yeah.
Man, like exhausting. By the time Dollars told me, Jarret, I was thinking, I've already been like, Dollars, I've had 400 thoughts in between.
Well, you know, it's a potential. Potentially they may strike.
Yeah, no, I saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the strike's about, but if they're for it, good for him. Nikki's so talking Dollars. Next to Jarret, mile a minute lunatic.
Right.
Are you sure he doesn't do coke? Yes, I he'd be skinnier if he did. All right, go on with your 5 questions.
All right. No. I thought never mind. I'm not gonna say that. We're live. All right. What do you know about the industry now, opposed to what you didn't know about the industry coming in?
Talking about the video industry, the
entertainment industry. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not up to date, to be fair, about what's going on in the industry. But what I will say that I learned when I went in to production to when I was done was the level of waste was disgusting, and you can do things way differently. And that's happened over time with just different cameras and et cetera, and like shooting on film and all of those things along those lines. But the reason I personally moved into production was I was like, you're all doing this a really dumb way, and I can give you that $500,000 level on a $15,000 shoot.
Yeah.
That's what killed me. It'd be like, why are they wasting this much money? Like it doesn't take all that. And nowadays it's even bigger. And that went to like audio record, like bands recording records. Like you could get Pro Tools in your home and buy a few good mics and kind of just learn how to do it. So, and now obviously your iPhone has slow-mo. Like we used to shoot with the Photosonic camera that NASA invented for slow-mo. Like it's a different world. So hopefully that kind of answers.
Yeah. No, it does. So what advice would you give your 19-year-old self?
Pay your taxes.
That's it. Yeah, because Uncle Sam will come looking for you.
It shows up eventually.
All right. What feeds your spirit?
What's that?
What feeds your spirit?
Besides Ali and Reagan, people losing their shit over the food that I make, and just like being at that level of being blown away, where, and it's gonna sound arrogant. I'm not humble. You know, people are like, "Oh, I'm humble," and I'm not. I'm not a humble person. I'm humble about like video production, right? But I'm not humble about food. I'm not humble at all. Right. I'm an arrogant asshole when it comes to it, because I believe that my food's fucking awesome. And the proof in it is for me is when I get home and I'm like, Allie, I didn't bring anything home from the shop. I'm exhausted.
Right.
I don't want to cook tonight. I can't do it. And we have to figure out where can we order from that we won't be disappointed.
Jackie's laughing at you. She's like, I'm not humble.
I'm not.
Jacqueline is laughing. See,
I know people are like, I'm humble about this. Like, I'm not humble. I finally
with the 5 love languages?
What's that?
Are you familiar with the 5 love languages?
The 5 love languages?
Yeah. Are you familiar with them?
Why don't you tell me, Phil?
Okay, all right. So one of the five love languages is acts of service, right? So
Okay.
I'm listening to you talk, and I'm like, would you say that that's one of your love languages is to provide service for others, which is why you're not humble about the business?
It's
The
weird to call it
right?
providing a service, but I get like I can put that into providing food for someone, like providing a service.
Yeah.
I'm just not humble because I'm like, no, I fucking rock. Like I fucking it took 40 years, right? So if I live to 80, that's half of my life. It took to find what I feel I'm really good at. You think I'm a great director. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Like it means a lot. I think this is the first look. I toured the world in a fucking band playing bass on stage,
Yeah.
and I can't play bass for shit. I picked up my acoustic bass a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I'm gonna play for my daughter. Hey, hon, we're gonna play some Newfound Glory songs. Four chords, dun 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 dun, and I couldn't fucking hit a note properly. Like
Right.
I
Right.
sucked at. But you know what? I'm a really good fucking cook. Like
Yeah.
I'm really fucking
Yeah.
good, and my food is
Yeah.
fucking awesome. And it took 40 years, 39 to be fair. I wasn't cooking at one, but I'm 39. It took that time to realize, like, you know what? I'm actually good at this.
Right. Right.
And so it doesn't surprise me when someone's like, yo, that's the best taco I've ever had. I'm more just like, I'm building a food court, right? A bagel shop turned into a food court,
Yeah.
right? Like there's tacos, there's Italian,
Yeah.
there's all of this shit.
I've
And
seen all.
Allie and I,
I've seen all
and
the
for those
growth.
of you who don't know, Allie's my wife.
Yeah.
Allie and I, like, every night is like, what do we want? Everything we want is off my menu. And that's why I'm not humble, right?
Yeah.
I'm arrogant with it. But that's what I want to eat. Like, we plowed down on, I made all this Mexican food tonight that's going to be on my menu tomorrow at the shop, but I brought it all home.
And I
And
would say, like, I started cooking with wine or using wine with meat because I saw you do it. Sometimes I remember you did it in the grill, but I think it was sausage peppers, and you
yeah, sausage, peppers, white wine.
with the white wine and kind of just
Yeah,
let it
white
go.
wine basil. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
That's the thing, too. It doesn't take all this crazy
And
stuff.
hamburger pizza. No, Big Mac pizza. Yes.
So, yeah, I forget what the question was, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was what features for you. Okay. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, that's tough because then you have to go between family and business, and they're both, and it's hard to say. Like, obviously on the business side, the legacy just be like he didn't put up with shit food because I don't, and I've been to some amazing restaurants in Manhattan that I'm like, yo, this ain't that great. Everyone claims like. So a legacy of like, don't put up with any shit. I mean, I guess the overall thing. Now you're making me think about this, right? I guess don't settle. Don't settle. Don't settle for shit. Don't settle for a bad director. Don't settle for a bad video production company that you're working with. Don't settle for bad food. Don't settle for a life that you're not happy with. Don't settle for like my daughter's awesome. Like yo, Reagan, you're 16 months. You're barely 16 months. Go put that away.
Yeah.
And teach her right. She doesn't like when we wipe her face at the end of dinner. So now I'm like, yo, here's your thing. Wipe your own face. And she's doing it. She's not doing it to the level she needs to. So then I go, I'm like, you got some here, girl. But like,
at least she's making the effort to try.
Absolutely, we are blessed. We have a very healthy, happy, awesome child, and she's smart. And Allie and I are both pushing her to be that much smarter. So I guess the legacy would just be don't settle, because there's absolutely no reason to. We have one life.
Yeah. Are you guys thinking private school, homeschool?
Absolutely not homeschool.
Right.
Private school sounds expensive too. I don't know, Phil. She's 16 months, okay?
Okay, no, parents usually think ahead of that. So my last question: what are you grateful for?
Oh, this is. I feel like this is so cheesy, but I think as you get older, you realize it. So you, as the one older than me, may go for it.
Who, me?
Dude, health. The fact that everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
For me, my family, etc., everyone, and people have issues here and there, but the overall with health and not dealing with health issues, you can't, anything else you can work on, like, and you can still work on health or whatever, but when it gets like if you go deep down, just being healthy, right? Like if you called me tomorrow and you're like, yo, I got this or I got that. The doctor gave me that. Like, there's nothing I can do with it. And I think it takes like at 20 years old, you're not saying health. At
Yeah.
40, you're kind of like, I haven't taken care of my body over years. I was in a touring band. I was smoking 3 packs a day, drinking vodka every single day.
Yeah.
Like, now I'm just crushing myself, waking up at the time that I'm doing, going to sleep when I'm doing, eating just to survive, etc. Like, I've got health choices I got to make and change, etc. The fact that I am so fortunate to have the healthy people around me that I do and is amazing.
Yeah.
So, you know, and especially with Reagan, especially
and the people that care about you enough to make sure that you stay on the straight and narrow when it comes to your health.
Some of them are bad ones. Yeah, but yeah. Overall.
Well, I'm sure Allie. You know, I'm
yeah,
sure
but no, you the health thing, like, you can't put anything above it. You can't.
Yeah.
Everything else is below it. So.
Yeah. I heard someone say, you know, you come to a realization where you have to start eating like your parents.
Too real. Well, they ate spaghetti and meatballs while I was growing up, so like I'm down with that. My mom made a great fucking meatball, so.
But did she eat? She ate the meatballs.
When I was growing up, they ate the carbs and shit. It was after like older that it was like, oh, we're Atkins diet, no carbs. Okay. But like spaghetti and meatballs growing up, man, yeah. They should put ketchup in them too.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty white shit right there, but it was good.
It's tomato sauce.
No, it's ketchup, Phil.
But isn't the ketchup made with tomatoes?
This is why we get along.
I don't understand. Ketchup is tomatoes.
Get Phil John's meatballs and ketchup. It's called a hamburger, Phil.
Clean bread and you're fine. Melt cheese over it.
What kind of cheese?
American.
White or yellow?
Yellow.
Racist.
Yo, Jarret Seltzer, it has been a pleasure, my brother.
Absolutely.
To have you on tonight. It really has. It's been fun. I don't think I've had this much fun in a while doing a live. And
I'm so happy you asked me to do this.
No doubt. I thank you so much, man.
Absolutely, brother.
Everybody who wants to find out about Bagels by Jarrett, you can find them at Bagels by Jarrett on Instagram.
Yep.
Right? And you can stop by the store in West Orange, right? You still in West Orange?
Still in West Orange. We're actually expanding on I'm taking over the spot next to me. I should be signing the lease this week. We're going to double our square footage, open up, be able to do takeout dinner, putting the pizza oven in. I'm going for it. Let's go.
What, you got indoor seating, right?
No, fuck that shit.
What?
When you haven't, so in West Orange, if I have one seat, I have to give you access to a bathroom.
Ah.
The bathrooms in these spots are at the back, which means I'd have to build a hallway for you to get there. So I'd lose all that square footage for you to get to a bathroom.
Yeah. Well, so in New York City, you can sit and they lock the bathroom.
People sit in their cars. They pop their trunk and they have a picnic. And that's what I'm about. I'm going to put some speakers outside, maybe a magician, a unicyclist, a little mime. Let's do the whole thing. Let's go. I don't need you inside. There's going to be seeds everywhere. I got enough to clean up.
Yeah.
I want to be in the bathroom business. I'm in the bagel business. I'm not even. Tacos all this week.
You don't have to worry about anybody coming in, knocking on the door saying, hey, I'm sorry, can I use your bathroom? Is there a
it still happens, and if they're really nice, I'll let them in, but.
Yeah. All right. Jarret Seltzer, everybody. Once again, follow him at Bagels by Jarrett on IG. Brother, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully,
absolute pleasure.
In person.
I'll see you soon, brother.
I'm not drinking anymore, but maybe, a beer or two. 3. But we'll talk about that offline. We'll talk about that.
What did we drink? It was, what was it?
Kettle wine?
No, it was a red after dinner drink. We killed a bottle of it. It was a 20-year red after dinner drink.
Was it vodka?
No, it was an after dinner drink.
I don't remember.
It was this it was like $150 bottle.
I don't remember.
I'm glad you don't remember. What was it? Either way, I love you. It's a
Love
pleasure.
you too,
I'm
bro.
glad I shared that bottle with you.
Love you too, bro.
You
Enjoy
are,
the rest of your night.
You rest of my night. I
Love.
got 2 minutes. I'm going to bed. I got to be up at 4.
Later.
Bye.